For over a century, psychologists couldn't explain one of the most profound human experiences, religious visions and spiritual awakenings. Were they divine? Were they hallucinations? The answer was hiding in brain chemistry the whole time. In the 1950s, researchers stumbled onto something remarkable. They discovered that altered states of consciousness, the very experiences mystics and saints reported for millennia, could be triggered by specific neurochemical changes. William James, the father of American psychology, had theorized this back in 1890, but without modern brain imaging, he couldn't prove it. By the early 2000s, neuroscientists like Andrew Newberg used PET scans to image the brains of meditating monks and Franciscan nuns in prayer. They found that during peak spiritual experiences, activity in the parietal lobe, responsible for sense of self, dramatically decreased. In other words, the feeling of ego dissolving into the divine wasn't mystical delusion. It was neurology. This discovery didn't diminish faith. Instead, it answered a 400-year-old question: how does the physical brain produce transcendent experience? Religious traditions had always insisted these moments were real. Science finally confirmed they left measurable marks on neural tissue. Now jump forward to another long-standing puzzle: what really happened to the lost colony of Roanoke in 1587? Colonists vanished without a trace from Virginia's coast. For 400 years, historians debated: massacre, starvation, or migration? The answer came from an unlikely source: tree rings. In 2019, scientists used dendrochronology, reading tree ring patterns, to reveal that Roanoke experienced the worst drought in 800 years between 1587 and 1589. The crops failed. Water vanished. It wasn't mystery or catastrophe. It was environmental collapse that forced colonists to abandon the settlement and migrate to nearby tribes. Archaeological evidence at nearby Croatoan Island backed this up. Researchers found English artifacts mixed with Algonquian tools and pottery, suggesting the colonists had integrated with indigenous peoples rather than perished. The mystery wasn't dark. It was human adaptation. Then there's the psychology of mass hysteria, a phenomenon that plagued entire communities for centuries. The 1692 Salem witch trials remain the most infamous case. But why did it happen? For generations, historians blamed ergot poisoning or deliberate fraud. The real answer is far more complex. Modern psychologists now understand that mass psychogenic illness, shared psychological distress spreading through a community, combined social anxiety, religious fervor, and genuine neurological symptoms. The girls in Salem weren't entirely faking, and ergot wasn't the full story. Their symptoms were real. Their fear was real. Their community's collective panic was real psychology. This reframing changed how psychologists approach group behavior, conspiracy thinking, and moral panics. Understanding Salem taught us that ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances can convince themselves and each other of nearly anything, without intentional deception. Finally, consider the decades-long search for understanding why humans universally create religion. Anthropologists, psychologists, and historians have proposed countless theories. But in 2015, a breakthrough emerged: religion might serve as an evolutionary adaptation for building cooperative societies. Researchers found that across all cultures and time periods, religious rituals and shared beliefs correlate strongly with group cohesion, resource sharing, and mutual aid. Religion wasn't imposed from outside. It emerged naturally because communities that believed together survived together. The mystery wasn't divine inspiration versus delusion. It was evolution favoring groups that cooperated through shared meaning. These solved mysteries, from the neuroscience of spiritual experience to the psychology of mass hysteria to the evolutionary roots of religion, reveal something profound: the greatest human mysteries aren't solved by dismissing either science or faith. They're solved by integrating both. History, psychology, and religion aren't competing explanations. They're complementary ways of understanding what it means to be human.